We are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Hany Abou, our economic expert. Very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, let's go into this subject immediately. What do we mean by cutting the interest rate, and what are the benefits behind this decision taken by the ECB on this day?
Let me provide a summary of the decision of the central bank, which was taken last week. In fact, the central bank cut the key interest rates by 50 basis points for 2 consecutive months.
Yeah.
And the main reason is to support the economy, which was badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, the economy contracted by 1.7% in the second quarter this year, and the economic growth fell to 3.6% in the fiscal year that was ended in June from 5.6% that was expected. So another reason for cutting the key interest rates made by the central bank is the inflation rate is now near its lowest in years and below the target floor of 6%. To be more precise about the question, the benefits of cutting the key interest rates. There are, I would list just very few benefits among others. The first one, since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, all countries have been taking different measures to boost the economy to escape the recession, particularly making funds reasonably priced for investors by cutting the key interest rates. Also, cutting interest rates encourage business sectors to survive and meet the financial obligations, including operational costs and supporting expansion. By way of example, or to simplify this issue, if a business is unable to cover its operational costs, it would either lay off workers and stop paying its dues for banks and vendors and other parties. Some would also go bankrupt.
Yep.
Let me also say that reducing interest rates will help small businesses and entrepreneurs to enter the local market and consequently create new jobs and contribute to economic growth. In the long term, this is very important, it's expected that cutting the interest rates will attract foreign direct investment, particularly in the manufacturing sector, and that is expected by year 2022. Just as importantly, the government, this is another important issue, the government is the largest borrower.
Yeah.
And accordingly, cutting interest rates will reduce the budget deficit as a result of reducing the cost of
sir, I can
public
say
debt.
that this decision would contribute to reducing the rate of inflation, and in the same time is going to boost the economic cycle and to increase the job opportunities, particularly with the entrepreneurs or the businesses.
It is not contradictory, but it is being viewed from different angles. As rightfully said, the pandemic hit all economies, and even the advanced economies were badly affected. And this year, 2020, is a bad year for all countries. Maybe the only exception in the MENA region, in the MENA region. The growth of the Egyptian economy is positive and expected to be in the range of 3.8%, while all other countries in the region will suffer the recession. So Egypt is the only country that escaped the recession in this year, and this, in fact, was stated in several reports released by international financial institutions like the World Bank and IMF and other research houses that Egypt's economy has performed well as compared to other economies in the region. So it is expected that next year Egypt will continue to perform better. The economy growth is expected to perform better than this year.
Sir, since you mentioned the reports released by the big international economic institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, and of course S&P, Moody, you name it. How do you see these reports, sir, concerning the Egyptian economy? I mean, can we depend on them, or their reports can be considered as messages to the international community to attract investors to come and to invest in Egypt, because now Egypt is really enjoying a strong economy and is coping well with the economic repercussions which are taking place on the ground due to the pandemic?
Well, let me say that international investors and funds and financial and financial institutions look at these reports with a high degree of credibility. These institutions, the World Bank, IMF, S&P, Moody's, name it, these are credible and trustworthy institutions, and when they issue a report, investors around the world look very seriously about the contents and the message of this report, that it sends a strong message to the entire world that Egypt's economy has been doing well despite the repercussions of the pandemic. So it is clearly that investors, when they look for a safe place and a good place for investment, they would look at Egypt for as an investment destination which is safe and provide reasonable yield on investment.
Sir, I was asking this question in specific to speak about tomorrow, about the few coming months, because with the resurge of the pandemic, there is a kind of uncertainty regarding the economic recovery of the whole world, and the lockdowns which are imposed even as we speak in Europe, in big parts of Europe, in the United States, and maybe in other parts of the world. Are we ready to cope or to manage a second wave economically? I mean, the experience we had before is going to enable us to perform in a better way, taking into consideration that we had a lot of homework, we did a lot. So we are now ready to do the same, or to follow suit, or to continue with more progress regarding the economic situation under a new wave or a second wave of COVID-19?
Well, let me tell you that the state of uncertainty is prevailing around the world, and Egypt is not an exception.
Sure.
Egypt is not an exception as far as the uncertainty is concerned. However, saying that Egypt is not an exception, what made Egypt this year and expected to do better the coming year is the economic reform program, which was completed by the Egyptian government, and that made Egypt, in fact, could withstand the strong or the difficulties, the hardship, and the negative repercussions which was resulted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So if Egypt had not completed this economic reform program successfully, Egypt would have been at the same difficult positions as other economies, particularly in the region.
Very well said, sir. Thank you very much for your input, and have a very good day. We were very much delighted to have you with us, Dr. Hany Abou, our economic expert. Thank you, sir.